All right. Well, I'll start off with one. I'll give credit where credit is due. I thought they played really well. I thought they made shots and some difficult shots. We certainly made some defensive mistakes, but I don't think more than what we have in some other really good defensive games that we've had. But they had a couple guys who made some shots, timely shots, and consistently over the 40 minutes. The number of their 2-point field goals that were outside the paint was probably more than I've seen in years, to be honest with you. So I'll give credit where credit is due. They played well. They played really well today. And so I tip my hat to them, but I give us some credit too for finding a way to end up in the proper column in this game. And so you look at the landscape of college basketball, and there's a lot of teams out there. Some of them have a little number next to their name, and they wish they could get a do-over against a team that everybody thought they should beat, and they wish they came out on top by one. And so we were able to do that today. So I give our guys some credit on that. But, we had finals this week, not to make any excuses for them, but I will. We had finals. We hadn't played in a full week, solid week of actual playing a game. And so I was happy that we did enough.
Charleston Southern had 7 turnovers tonight. I was curious to know, kind of from your perspective, what you saw from some of the, not turnovers, blocks. They had 7 blocks tonight. I'm curious to see what your perspective was on some of those offensive possessions that led to those blocks. A few of them, I believe, did actually lead into turnovers. So I'm curious to kind of hear what you were seeing on some of those opportunities.
Just not making a decision at the point when the play took place. If you jump at the same time as the defender, then you need to jump higher than the defender, or you should pump fake probably, unless you can levitate. And so we needed to pump fake in some of those scenarios, and we didn't. And so that'll be good. We'll see that on the film. We talk a lot about that. We practice that to some degree. They've been known to block some shots. They got good length, and a couple of their guys are athletic down there. And so, but yeah, I think when you get to the basket, you got to make a split-second decision when you're about to take off to shoot the ball. Is it free and clear, smooth sailing, or am I going to have to alter and deviate from the original plan?
Coach, I don't think you guys shot your first free throws until about the 16-minute mark left in the second half. Do you think there might have been like a lack of aggressiveness in terms of drives to the basket, or is that just kind of what the look Charleston Southern gave you was to give you more jumpers?
I think it was a combination of not attacking the rim enough, and sometimes that happens when you have confidence in yourselves as shooters, which these guys have earned that over the course of not only games but practices in the summer. So at times attacking the rim can be a fallback plan. And so I like to do it the other way myself, maybe because I don't shoot the ball as well as these guys, and then get it going to the rim, get to the free throw line, get a couple of those, and then maybe start to spread it out a little bit. But yeah, I think we could have attacked more. That was part of it, but it was also a pretty clean game, I think, in general, just in terms of how they played and how we played. It wasn't a lot of fouling that was going on. We did attack the rim a couple times, and they jumped simultaneously and did a good job of having verticality. So there wasn't, there was contact, but there was no foul to be called. And so, but yeah, I think we could have attacked the rim more. They defensively, the way they guard in the post, they do it. Colin got 2 dunks at the rim because of what their post defense is. Oftentimes those lead to fouls. If you play one-on-one in the post, they weren't going to play one-on-one in the post. So there were a couple other factors, but certainly I think we could have attacked the rim a little bit more.
Coach, with about 8:20 left for that second to last media timeout, you go on a 6-0 run, call a timeout yourself. What's the message to the guys in that huddle with Southern just seemingly making very contested shots?
Yeah. Just just hunker down and be solid. I thought that was a big message for us, was just to be solid. We had one play where Colin Murray Boyles was being really active guarding the ball. He had gotten switched on to, it might have been Johnson, or one of their perimeter guys, but he'd done a really good job of pestering the ball handler, and then he started to go into attack mode, and rather than just at that point being solid, and he stayed aggressive and ended up giving up a layup. So while I wanted to be aggressive, I also wanted us to know when it was time to be solid. So just being solid on the defense, on the defensive end, that was a big part of it.
What was your overall assessment of how your team was on the glass today, especially first half versus second half? I think it was 1 offensive rebound in the first half and 14 in the second.
Yeah, I mean, it was on the board. It was on the board as a thing that I thought we could have success at, was offensive rebounding. So you wouldn't have known that by the first half, but by the second half you would have. But that was a focal point for us, was when the shot went up. I wanted 3 guys going really hard to the glass and then get back, and then you do that until your tongue's hanging on the ground, and we sub and get somebody else in there who does the same thing. So the second half, I think we went more. Some of that also, the ball has to rebound in a way that it falls your way to some degree, but I know we went more consistently in the second half, because I can remember myself in the first half getting on a couple guys that weren't going to the offensive glass. So that was obviously a big part of the game for us, was we were able to get some second chance opportunities, and then we converted on some of those as well.
Beyond just wins, big picture, what are you trying to see from your guys these next 3 home games before you get into the SEC play? Where do you want to see growth in them?
Yeah, honestly, we want to. I always use the analogy of, I use a lot of golf analogies with our guys, but one of them is, Tiger Woods, when he was playing really well, I don't think when he went into the opening round that he perceived that he was playing against, Sergio Garcia specifically, if that's who he was matched up on the first tee box, or Phil Mickelson. I think he was playing against the golf course. And so, what did that mean for him? He didn't have to score lower than any one of those guys. He had to try to hit as many greens in regulation as he could. He had to hit as many, which started with as many fairways as he possibly could. And so just that mentality of building forwards, and that's what we want to do ultimately, is not just tweak everything for the next opponent, but we do a lot of self-scouting. We didn't do that. We didn't go to the boards here. Look at this decision here. It had nothing to do with what they did, but this is just a decision. We've normally made this decision better. Okay, let's get better at that. This is a ball screen coverage. Look at our rotation. Look how late we decided to get over here for this rotation. Normally it's a full half second, which makes a big difference, amazingly enough. But a full half second, we move quicker than that. And so, honestly, that's what I'm most concerned about, is just what kind of product. What's our product look like as we go into SEC play? What's it look like? And so, can you continue to fine tune it? Trust me, we want to win the games, and at one point that will take precedence over everything else, winning a single game. But ultimately, we do want to have our best product, and so we're just on a mission to try to continue just to improve.
When Charleston Southern kind of when you guys went on that huge run to jump out to an 8-point lead with under a minute left, Charleston Southern kind of cuts that lead in half, and then BJ takes that jump shot with like a minute left, I think, and Talon grabs the rebound. How big of a play was that in the game? And obviously you guys ended up winning after that.
Yeah, it was a big play. It went to 8-5 because I think they got an and one, or maybe they missed a free throw on it. But anyway, they scored. We come down. If we don't, momentum's very powerful in anything that you do, in any sport for sure. And if we had not rebounded that miss by BJ, the chances of momentum starting to shift at that point in the game it's much more likely. And so it was a big-time rebound. It was a big-time rebound and a big play for us just to settle down again. We had, I think, a couple of those where it was just like, all right, we needed that rebound, if not to get points, but just to reset, regather, and get something good, make them work, and get ourselves, in a much better position. But that was a big play. That was a big rebound. He had a big rebound in the last game, honestly, late in the game too. So he's got a nose for the ball, a knack for it, and maybe a flair for when the situation dictates that we're going to need him to fly in there and grab one. I thought Zach did a good job rebounding the ball too.
It kind of seems like when Benjamin was in the game tonight, he kind of provided a spark for y'all and pulled a couple rebounds late. What would you see from him tonight?
Yeah. He had I'll tell you this. He had a really good past couple days of practice, and it's not always a one-to-one translation from what you do at practice to what you do in the game. But he had a really good last couple days of practice. He needs to be a high-energy guy. We need to rely on him being a high-energy guy. I think that's his best trait. And he communicates, and he's for the team no matter what. And we got a lot of guys that are for the team, all our guys, honestly. But he was able to do that. And he actually was he ran to the rim after he ball screened, and those two, between he and Mo, I think they hooked up on 3 ball screen passes for layups or dunks, maybe dunked 2 of them. So just was energetic, a couple good rebounds. He drew a foul on one of the offensive rebounds, and it's just who's going to do what consistently was going to be how minutes are determined. And today it was him. He had the most juice out of that second group of bigs.
Kind of going off of that a little bit, you mentioned before the Clemson game that you see Bozeman Verdonk have a little bit more of a grittier side to him when he plays. Are there other players on this team?
Of who, Benjamin? Is that what
Yes,
you said?
yes.
Yeah.
Are there other players on this team that you've seen really kind of take a step forward in just shining in games like these where they're a little bit more scrappier, a little bit grittier, things like that?
We've got a resilient group in general. I think there's room for improvement in that area, but I aspire for that to be one of our trademarks, is that, hey, you don't know how many shots are going to go in when you play South Carolina, and you don't know, who's going to be their leading scorer. But I aspire that everybody knows that when they play us, that it's going to be a dogfight, and loose balls are not going to be won easily. And that we won't back down, and that we are fighters. And so we've got a lot of guys that I think are doing it. We'll get on the floor, dive for a loose ball, and just do some of the plays that some guys are just not willing to do. We talk about it all the time. We preach that, and we've got more and more guys. It's hard to single any one particular guy out. It's just that with Benjamin Bozeman's Verdonk, that tends to be a big part of who he is as a player, right? Whereas Amici Johnson, had 4 games in a row where he was averaging 20-something, whatever that was, and he also makes some gritty plays. But with Ben, it's so glaring because it often changes the tides of the games, and 2, it's a big part of who he is as a player.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.